You probably do not need me to tell you how big of a comeback Ineffa has had. You know, on her release, she was generally regarded as a pretty strong off-fielder, but not a lot of meta-oriented creators and didn't necessarily recommend her. And I, myself, was originally going to skip her, but in going for T6 Sethos, I got lucky getting her. And I was really happy back then that I got her because I continued to find really fun teams that she was useful for. And this was, before everything else happened since then. To be clear, I don't think I need to tell you that, Ineffa is valuable. Lunar damage incentivization with current boss design in Stygian Onslaught and Spiral Abyss. I don't think I need to tell you, that Columbina and Ineffa are a really strong combo. You probably understand that too. But I did want to talk about some specific things, including one of my favorite teams that it does not include Columbina, by the way. It actually includes Aino. And speaking of Aino, I do think a lot of Aino's functional utility for the vast majority of players is somewhat locked behind having Ineffa. I wish they would release more Nod Krai 5-stars that are off-fielders that could enable more potential synergies for Aino, but I don't know if they're going to do that at this point. But I don't know, maybe they'll do like an Lunar Crystallized off-field DPS in the future. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Ineffa has, gotten buffed, both by Columbina's release, being a unit that functionally is just made to primarily synergize and buff Krai 5-stars, and, the Ineffa Columbina, particularly with Sucrose combo, and then whatever characters you want to play off-field can oftentimes just be a team format that can be used to clear a lot of endgame content and play whatever on-fielder you like. And I think that's cool as long as the main DPS on-field unit feels like they're contributing meaningfully. Although a funny thing you can do, by the way, you can leave Ineffa on-field and use the Night of Skies Unveiling set, right? On-field Ineffa got stronger when, the Nod Krai artifact set's released and with Columbina's release, but also off-field Ineffa got stronger because this Abaid of Morningstar and Moon, I think they probably intended this to be a Columbina artifact set for like the average player, but in reality it kind of is better at buffing Ineffa because Ineffa does more damage at a baseline. And also a quick rundown of Ineffa's kit before we get into the specifics of what this video is actually going to be about, which is showing probably my favorite Ineffa team. So one thing that I think is important is that you need to understand her talents don't really matter that much. It's not that they can't do some damage. I do think they are worth leveling up a little bit. The skill is primarily worth leveling up for shield durability, and the burst is worth leveling up just because you should use it when it's available. You don't necessarily have to build her to burst every rotation, although the team I'm going to show you is a team that wants to burst every rotation, but not necessarily against every single enemy in the game. Her skill has a 138% multiplier, which hits every couple seconds, but that damage is not the meat of her damage. The meat of her damage is this lunar charge damage, which functionally is a much higher multiplier than it seems like it is. The multiplier value of the lunar talent damage abilities is misleading because of the fact that it ignores defense stats on enemies, as well as the fact that the damage formula has an extra multiplier. And this is where Ineffa on the new artifact set, especially with Columbina and whatever, can start hitting some really silly damage numbers to the point that you might see people saying that, Ineffa in a Flynn's team is doing close to the same damage as Flynn's is, which, especially if you have a really, really good build on Ineffa, it can kind of be the case. She is just quite strong, and it's basically just because of this passive, but she also gives a shield, which is valuable to a lot of people, and then she has her other passive, and this passive is my favorite part of her kit. Also, I just realized I left the fox on. Let me know in the comments, I guess, if you want to see the fox in edited videos. Normally I turn it off. 6% of Ineffa's attack is converted to EM for her and for the on-fielder. And this is one of those things that gives Ineffa a lot of flexibility because you can put her in a Dendro team and have her be a really good Hyper Bloom trigger, and she is automatically going to be paired with units that are in teams that are going to give her EM or attack that converts to EM, right? Basically anywhere as long as you have Hydro, right? And you don't have to do Devil Nod Krai. She's not, an Ascendant Gleam required character, which is good, but you do gain benefits from Ascendant Gleam, especially with the new artifact set. So it's not literally always going to be the best artifact set option. In fact, with this team I'm going to discuss, it is also not necessarily always the best artifact set option. Anyways, it's weird. That's the current state of Genshin Impact is such that particularly for off-fielders at least, there's just never a universal artifact set. It's just how it is now. It kind of is really annoying. I never talked about it, but I can't believe they made a whole UI and we can even manually select things, but it just doesn't save it properly. How little work do they have to put in to make a real loadout system? They already did the hard work. Anyways, whatever. That just confuses me. Sorry, distracted. So, point is, Ineffa is a good character, and as long as you pair her with Hydro in some form, which you oftentimes end up using because Hydro is just kind of the strongest element in the game for enabling all kinds of different teams, and it's possible, to be clear, you know, maybe when we go into next year, they go very anti-Hydro, and they design a million bosses that are like, if you dare use Hydro. They've done this before, right? Towards the end of Natlan, they released this thing, and if you put, I believe, Cryo or Hydro on it, it reset its like charge up meter, so it like always had high resistance. That's a very anti-Hydro mechanic. Maybe the entire next year is extremely anti-Hydro with endgame design to balance out the fact that this year's been very much, you know, always use Hydro with Nod Krai stuff. If they do that, then obviously Ineffa loses value next year. I don't know how the future will go. I would love to see. All we can talk about is right now, and I'd say at least for the next 6 months, we should be pretty safe, I hope. We should talk a little bit about weapons as well. So she works really well on Jade Spear. She works really well on Skyward Spine. Obviously her signature weapon. She works well on other stat stick weapons. She works great on Deathmatch, and Deathmatch looks good. This new polearm is pretty similar to Skyward Spine at a baseline, I would say, but it has high base attack, low crit rate, but then gives a bunch of attack percent with stacks that she can stack from off-field, and then some energy recharge stacks, which she appreciates. So this is a really good weapon option for her. It also looks really good. It's a very nice drip impact option. Fav is also good because Fav energy is sometimes just what you need, especially in like Stygian Onslaught nowadays. And then Katane's amazing for making her so she can just always burst every rotation, like in most team contexts. And yep, it's a craftable too. And then there's also the new Nod Krai craftable, which I don't have, which is also pretty good for her. She is one of the 5-star characters in the game that has like the most flexible weapon options in my opinion. And that is part of what makes her so accessible, especially because, you know, one of her main enablers was given for free. Oh yeah, one minor thing I don't think I mentioned with the talents. I think it's really good like on a resource level because like it's really expensive to level up Genshin characters, right? It's not that hard to like get them leveled to 90. It depends on, you know, how many heroes within Mora you have to save it, to be clear. But like add the base leveling up, plus, you know, needing to get like new artifacts potentially, plus needing to level up talents, because all of her damage comes from this. You can kind of technically just leave her at level 1 talents and be fine. And she's easier to build because she has different artifact set options for different contexts, and that gives her flexibility. It means like you probably have artifacts on your account and a weapon on your account available that can make her compelling. Anyways, the team that I want to focus on in this video is, yes, it's a Dehya team. This is a team I intended to make a video about. Well, actually it was with Farina. Farina, I still think, with my C2 Farina, even with Columbina's release, is my preferred slot in this team for making the team as strong as possible. But funnily enough, Aino is my favorite on a mechanical level. Like, the team performance worse with Aino. Crazy. The free character is not as good as C2 Farina. I know that's going to blow some people's minds. But I like Aino for her timing of Hydra application better than Farina, and it's just like more consistent to play, and it just flows in a better way. I enjoy it more. That's kind of all there is to it. With the new artifact set, Aino enables the Ascendant Gleam passive for this on Ineffa, which I like as well. And now it basically means that the gap between Aino and Farina or Columbina here is low enough that in most enemy contexts, I don't really feel like I need the extra damage that Columbina and Farina provide. C6, Aino is almost useless, by the way, for this team context. Aino does shorter rotations as more... Hello? Well, I guess I can continue yapping while my internet comes back. This is, guys, apparently this is what happens when you try to compliment Aino. Wildverse is like, no, don't compliment Aino. This might make people realize that they could actually be completely happy with Aino and not pull Columbina. Should I make a video about that? Because I could definitely make a video of like, Columbina at home is Aino and is still actually pretty good. Well, I'm going to figure out my internet. My freaking internet router decided to do an update. Thanks. Well, I guess, you know, it's my fault for recording this video at midnight. Where in the heck was I? Oh yeah, so, Aino with Dehya. The point I was trying to get to with, like, Farina in this team, and yes, I'll explain Chevers in this team. It will make sense, don't worry. But Farina or Columbina in place of Aino here. The reason I find it's not necessary is because despite, you know, my Dehya is she's not your grandpappy's Dehya, okay? This is my Dehya in 2026. This is my Dehya after literally years of investing into her, pulling dupes of her over time. When she re-ran with Chronicle Banner, I intentionally got her to C6. Didn't have to wail on it either. I just got a little bit lucky and planned around it. Anyways, this is my Dehya, and at this investment level of my Dehya, if the damage gain from having like Farina or Columbina is not such that it actually allows me to clear new content that I otherwise couldn't clear with Aino, I don't care, and I prefer the one that just is better on a gameplay feel because of, like, you know, more adaptability for rotations and whatever. I think the average player with a, you know, not almost, how long has it been? Oh my god, it has almost been 3 years since I got Dehya. You know, I think most players should probably consider using Columbina if you have her, or Farina, especially Farina with Constellations, in this team context. And if you're going to use Chevers here, yes, Chevers is the best option here, but you should only probably use a Chevers C6. I mean, a Chevers non-C6 can work. We'll talk about it. That's actually secretly what this video is about. Well, not Chevers, but just like Dehya over vape in general, because that's where I use Ineffa the vast majority of the time personally. Because I do what normal players do, is, like, you know, I end up finding one particular team after 6 months of having a character, since I've had Ineffa for a while, and play that team all the time, right? I do play Ineffa in other team contexts. I do stream Genshin, and I use whatever teams I'm interested in at a given time. But where I have found I use her the most is this team. And that's what I wanted to make a video about, because, you know, Dehya is well regarded as a pretty poo-poo character. Aino's regarded as a poo-poo character. I think neither of them are actually as bad as people make them out to be. I think it's important to show, you know, how Ineffa can enable, like, bad characters to have more compelling team options. It's kind of the ultimate point here, and that's what I'm gonna do. So, you know what, before we get into some of the specifics of how this team works, and I'll have a link in the description, by the way, from the original person that had the idea for using Chevers here, because originally when I played this team I used Bennett, and Bennett is worse than, again, Chevers C6. But let's just go to some endgame. Let's go to Stygian. Yeah, no, we ain't doing Abyss. You think this team needs to do Abyss? No, it's strong enough. Interestingly, though, to be clear, I do not think, because we're going to play against the boss that was in the previous Stygian, I had Ineffa and Aino when this enemy was first in, you know, Fearless difficulty, and its HP has not changed. The difference is we have Ineffa with a new artifact set, right? That is the difference now. Everything else that I have on my account is actually the same other than the Ineffa artifact set. So this is the buff that we're getting into, right? Where I couldn't clear this originally the first time this boss was around, and now I can. I am going to try to clear it with Skyward Spine. If I feel like I need to, I will switch to Jade Spear. I'm pretty sure if I use Jade Spear, I clear in the first try, right? Like, it's strong enough that I can definitely do that. All right, we will start with Ineffa E. We'll Aino, okay, and we get Burst, okay, do that. We do this to get an Overload. We get the attack buff from Chevers, do a hold E. And then we can just on-field here a little bit. We don't get any particular buffs that are on-field specific. We do want to make sure we refresh Aino. Bap, let's do this. Okay, we can do this. Alright. And, we'll do another E here. Okay, got through the shield. Alright, good. Do this. Okay, good. Dehya gets energy. Do this. Do this. Alright, do that. And go to town. Obviously, we want to see around half HP at the minute mark, ideally. Okay. Ineffa energy is a little not ideal. Okay, you know what? Forget it. Let's just forgo the energy this rotation. It's not really not ideal. I'm gonna lose a meaningful amount of Dehya damage doing that. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I guess that's probably fine. Dehya will contribute a little bit here. Okay. Now. Oh, that might have just cost me the attempt, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, the lineup here didn't really make sense. Shoot. Okay, do this. Okay, I think I bungled on my gameplay a little bit, but you can see I might have to redo this once. Like, I think this was just like a slow shield clear diff, and this is why Jade Spear is kind of better here. I also was bad with funneling energy to Ineffa. Reverse. Catch. I want to get this with Skyward Spine because I think, you know, the worse weapon is the more interesting one to try to get the clear with. Okay, do this. Fresh Aino. Okay. Okay, I didn't do a good job with Dehya. That's fine, I suppose. We just do this. Okay. It took me a while to take damage. It was not ideal for Dehya. For both the Vorakage's set and because of Dehya's signature weapon, it is better to take damage, so that. The extra Fav trigger. Alright, we're on pace. Try to rotate around him to push him back into Aino burst. I know circle impact is very much not a problem. You can completely move around it to be able to mitigate any issues from it, in my experience. Okay, we are just going to forego Dehya here. We may as well just save the burst so we can hopefully line up things better. And do this. We'll do this though. Okay, this I think will line up. We do this. Alright, we do this. Let's see. Might get it. I'm right on the line. Oh, frick, I reset a thing. Oh, so I won't have the full record. Whatever. It's fine. I don't know what I accidentally stole from an artifact or something from other characters there. Anyways, there you go. So it took 2 tries, my bad. And now, of course, we have to go into the damage dummy because I'm sure people are just like, well, that was completely Ineffa carrying damage. Well, I don't know. Go, I actually don't know. I haven't tested this. I don't know what Dehya's damage contribution is going to be. We're going to go into a damage dummy and we're going to see what exactly like the percentage distribution is from Dehya versus Ineffa. So, you know, place your bets. Again, remember, this ain't your grandpappy's Dehya. Now, normally I like using this damage dummy. As far as I'm aware, this damage dummy doesn't allow the enemies to attack you. So we're actually going to use this one. The total DPS is not going to be particularly incredible here, right? That's not the, like again, I don't think the point of this team is to do the maximum damage possible. Believe it or not, if I wanted to play the maximum damage possible, I could play a character other than Dehya. I know that's a crazy idea, though. Alright, do that. Okay, doot. Okay, continue going. And you can see, yep, we're hovering around 70k. We get a little bit over 70k DPS. Yep, this is pretty much what I expected. Ooh, we're hitting over. Oh, wow, we're almost getting 80k. That's actually a little bit higher than I expected. Okay. And we got a funnel of energy. Okay, do this. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. That actually might cause a problem because it applies too much pyro and then we lose. No, we had hydro aura. Good, okay. Never mind. And we'll do one more Dehya activation, and there we go. I am actually surprised I hit 80k DPS. But anyways, you can see, Dehya is doing 50k of this DPS, a total of 3 million damage. Wow. Chivalrous was doing not much. Aino was doing more than Chivalrous, which is kind of funny. And Ineffa, with, you know, new artifact set on Skyward Spine, is doing 26.78 thousand. Like, Dehya is doing meaningfully more damage than Ineffa in this team. And unironically, this is why I kind of really like this balance, right? If you can see, if I put Columbina in the team, all that happens is Ineffa's damage goes up, and then Columbina's damage, of course, is there, and then Dehya is no longer, you know, doing more than 50% of the team's damage. Like, the balance just doesn't feel as satisfying to me. I really, really like Ineffa's balance, where, like, in many ways, she is a power creepy off-fielder that does a lot of damage. She does shielding, and although I don't need a shield in this team, it's actively bad for Dehya. Anyways, stop attacking Clippy. I like that this is Genshin in 2026, by the way. Oh, actually, wait. While AoE rarely exists in Genshin, AoE scenarios are something you can simulate in damage dummies pretty well, and this team does scale pretty well in AoE. Alright, let's see how this goes. I put 5 enemies here, this will be interesting. Surely Dehya can tank through all this, right? Also, Aino's Hydra application is weird. It's like pseudo AoE, but, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Obviously, in theory, if we're hitting every hit AoE, we have 5 times the damage, right? Oh, wait, the enemies can die? Did I not set them to... Oh, why did I do that? Oh, boy. Wait, no, they can't die. Okay, good. I thought I saw one of them die. Oop, wrong character. Yeah, Ineffa's hits also hits in AoE, I believe. And I know it's enough pseudo AoE that, yeah, you can see we're doing functionally the equivalent of 300k DPS. Oh, they are, no, they're not dying. They're just getting knocked over. I see. I understand. Okay. We're getting a lot of free particles because these enemies generate, I believe, a lot of contact particles. But anyways, yeah, 300k DPS in AoE seems okay. Could be better, though, to be completely honest. But it's safe to say, you know, it scales in AoE pretty well. And you can kind of see the balance here again, is Dehya doing 2/3 and Ineffa doing 1/3. Now, I should have a link in the description that explains some of the workings of this team and how it can perform quite well with a C0 Farina in place of Aino and using Ineffa on the old artifact set. The reason I want to bring that up, though, is with an invested build and, you know, with good play optimizing around Farina's fanfare buildup in this team, can perform better than you saw me performing here with a Dehya C1. And we're talking Dehya C1 with, get ready for it, Rain Slasher. Because, right, increases damage against opponents affected by Hydro or Electro by 36%, and EM scales like your overload damage and your vaporized damage. Dehya, even without C4, can have quite low energy needs as long as you funnel Chev's particles. So, like, Dehya's energy needs in this team can actually be only about 30 to 40. And then Ineffa, for her energy needs to be able to burst every rotation, can use Catane. And you want to burst every rotation with Dehya and Ineffa together because you do not want to use your shield. It's not just because of this buff. Like, this buff is good. It increases your damage, right? This artifact set on Dehya requires taking damage, and that's why, again, I was using that other artifact dummy where I could actually take damage. I would have meaningfully lower DPS. You want to burst every rotation because you don't get a shield, because she has this little sneaky line in her burst where if Brigette is already on the field, it will refresh Brigette's duration, or it will resummon her if she's not on the field at all. So you never actually have to use Ineffa's skill. If I do end up shielding, then this weapon becomes quite not great on Dehya because I lose the extra 20% attack and 32% HP, and being that Dehya's damage scales both on her attack and HP, that's pretty bad. Now, it is worth mentioning that there is the Nod Krai artifact set, right? If you're doing either with Aino or with Columbina, you can use the new artifact set on Dehya instead of that, and then you don't have to worry about the shielding aspect anywhere near as much, especially if you don't have Dehya's signature weapon, right? And this means, by the way, we don't need to burst every rotation on Ineffa, so we'll switch to Jade Spear Ineffa. And I'll use this goblet. So there's the new Ineffa build. So this is definitely a burst every other rotation build. Since I do have C4/C6 Dehya, I think this amount of ER will be fine. I am 2% over capped with crit rate now because C6 Dehya gives 10% crit rate. And yeah, so anyways, we'll see if this performs better. But also, wait, I totally forgot I hadn't explained Shivers in this team yet. By the way, Shivers could probably use Noblesse here, and I think that might be a better artifact set, but I like Song of Days Past on her, so anyways, I use that. And I like Song of Days Past for the purpose of having more healing if I do choose to use Farina in this team in place of Aino. Normally, you're used to thinking about Shivers for only full Electro Pyro teams. But if you do have her C6, the important thing is that, like, all of the things that Shivers does, because Shivers does more than just the res shred, right? In the one passive. This passive here, right? This is the only thing you lose. Everything else about Chevros just works by having Electro existing at all to be able to trigger Overload. If you trigger Overload at all, you can shoot her Overcharge Bullet, which means you get the 40% attack buff, which is team-wide, by the way. Attack buffs that are team-wide are so rare. And then you get the C6 damage bonus buff, and Dehya really, really likes damage bonus, by the way. That's basically why Shivers works here, on top of the energy particle aspect that I mentioned, right? The energy particle aspect is really significant as far as like increasing your functional damage. Energy particles, when it reduces your energy needs so that you can build more damage stats on characters, equals more damage. That's important. Alright, do this. Okay, tap. Do this. This rotation we don't care about Dehya because we can't even burst on her anyways. We do have Jade Spear now, so we want to build some Jade Spear stacks and leave Ineffa on field for that. Don't forget to do this though. Okay. That to Dehya. Okay. Oh, I didn't even pay attention. Yep, Jade Spear does indeed break faster. Alright, bam. Can I trigger path? There we go, okay. Alright, there we go. Now. And we do Dehya skill after now because, whoops, I funneled that to the wrong character. It didn't matter. Okay, good. Sure, Dehya or funnel there. Okay. Yeah, the rotation with Moika weapon has to be, you know, using her skill after we're doing her bursts, basically. So it gives less flexibility, but it's not really worse, right? Okay. Our energy is not ideal. I guess we do that. Wait, it doesn't matter that I forgot we're doing whatever. Okay, that's fine. Make sure we build stacks. I was so in the habit of like making sure I don't skill on Ineffa that it just didn't. Alright, we do this. We do this. Probably should not have done that, but no, it's fine. We overtook the pyro. And you can see this performs ultimately like pretty similarly, despite how good my artifacts are on Dehya with the new artifact set, the Nod Krai DPS set. That is to say, because these artifacts are artifacts that I likely would end up using on other characters, I just kind of don't really feel like there's a compelling reason for me to use it. It can be easier to play around in some ways, but it doesn't feel meaningfully better. I guess I should have showed my overall artifacts on Ineffa. Normally I would use this goblet, and yep, so these are pretty good artifacts. I'm probably going to try to re-roll this in the future to improve it. I did spend re-rollers, including like a decree guarantee to make sure this had all 4 crit rolls. So it was a conjunction of getting somewhat lucky, but also very purposely using resources to get artifacts this good on Ineffa. This one was actually probably the one I got lucky as getting. So what else is there to say? I don't know, other than Ineffa's great. I think you probably know that at this point she's had probably the biggest comeback, because like compared to Emily when Natlan came out, right, she wasn't featured in the stories and no one cared about her. Ineffa was featured in the stories, so a lot of people wanted her, and I think it's like the timing of it is very, you know, very Hoyoverse, I guess. Or it's just gotcha companies, right? But you know, running the character everyone was waiting for in conjunction with a character that everyone was waiting for a rerun for, because a lot of players either like weren't playing during Ineffa's release patch because it was right before the new region, right, or just straight up skipped Ineffa because her original value wasn't as like high as it clearly is now. But yeah, for me, nothing about Ineffa has really changed. like Columbina, while it has strengthened Ineffa, ultimately like Ineffa is just a little bit better than she was before, but she's still 95% the same character to me, and she just has even more team options that gives me even more confidence that she'll be viable and enjoyable long term for being able to enable fun teams, and I am sure I will continue enjoying using her with Dehya. And yeah, that's great. Bye.